Everybody fast Rasmus back again in Ambition. After the eventful episode last time. So what we've got balance of power. And we've got this. Let's go to the La Trompette and see what he's got to say for himself. You enter pass off, find it's totally more usual. Yep, same standard reply. Okay, checking with public opinion. Have I lost position information? How? Okay, that's business. No chance. Peril down. Sell gossip. 1 in 10, okay. Let's sell gossip. Let's not. You 1 in 4, let's not. Sell gossip, 1 in 4, let's not. That's too risky. Sell gossip, 1 in 4. 1 in 4. Okay, we've got to do some. We need money. That's exactly good. 1 in 3. Yes, it's not good. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. Yeah, it's hardly worth it, is it really? That's wasted. Okay. Pass continues and Fitz starts to burn. You spend your copious free time poring over what little snippets of news you've managed to pick up over the last few days. At this moment, looks like the Crown will be able to weather the storm. The revolutionary fires burn, but not brightly enough. This is good for you, of course, from all your time in Pass and your close association with Elizabeth. The public believes you to be loyal to the Crown. Still, however, whatever happens next, you can be assured that this ship of state shall come to a port in a sea reddened by the torrents of blood. And so Paris continues to burn. Okay, explore Paris. Balance of power. That's only one thing we can do. Is paint. Elizabeth has still work to do, so let's go and carry on with the old painting. Get that finished. Whether in another warm day, in another warm sunny day, as you walk to Elizabeth's studio, fresh breeze off the river prevents the heat from becoming overwhelming. Knock on the door. You knock lightly on the door. You hear some frantic movements inside. The door opens. She's Elizabeth through the gap. What they said last time about staying quiet, she whispers through her teeth. We need to be discreet. Okay. No matter if anyone asks, I'll just say you're a courier with a message. She says, "Come in." You follow them inside. Glance up behind you. Still exactly as remember you. Through your portrait canvas is covered in cloth. Oh, I thought you never asked. Elizabeth was a slight smile. She helps you out your dress and slowly laces your stays, handling on you all the while. You're pretty sure it took longer to undress with her help than it would have taken to do all by yourself, but that really wasn't the point, was it? This time she stares at her paints, This time she starts with her paints, filling in colours that define the scene while you can't see what she's doing. She tells you about the process. Against the balance of colours is important to make the scene feel authentic. Even to the untrained eye, subtle details like colour of light reflected off a wall can make all difference in the world. Now in sitting, she laughs. I like how easy it is to talk to you, much easier than trying to reach out to new patrons. Half of the critics in the city already paint me as a conniving narcissist. I'd hate to prove any of them right. So just I sit around here and wait for work to come to me, even though I know it's unwise. Artists have to keep reaching out for clients or they'll never get anything, she sighs. I'm so out of patient practice. What if I make a fool of myself? Despite I don't even know who would appreciate my work. But problem is most of their commissioned artists are men. You're sure to stand out. If you think so, or to consider the idea, I guess that makes sense. Like easier to picture yourself when you've something different to offer. Thanks, I'll send that letter to some military officers in Paris tomorrow. Okay, cool. Okay, 2 hours later, she spent the next hour still proposing watching Elizabeth paint. She feels more relaxed as if a weight had lifted off her mind. Alright, my hands are starting to cramp, so I think we've done for today. That's great. Here it is. Pain says, "Duration over to easel. The wooden floor creaks under your bare feet as you walk over. Whilst painting is obviously unfinished, your colours are seen on balance, and you can see certain details of your body. It's not what you see in the mirror, but it's familiar beauty. All of the time, if you spent on your eyes catching something that feels passionate, calculating, and enigmatic. It's fascinating to see how you appear to the eyes of another. As Elizabeth proves, you pass pastries and tea again, while you get the feeling that she does this with all of her clients. It's nice, but it's nice to have all the same. You chat and joke for a while, but you're lazy to do. No, you don't have to stand hold perfectly still. Things one day you decide to stand there down. You've got Elizabeth from take your leave. You'll have to return one last time so Elizabeth can finish the portrait. The final sittings are available for you to visit in the Paris map. Until then, you'd like to rest. Okay. Okay, so we've got no parties basically. We've nobody coming to collect rent either. Got as well with the final sitting, then we'll see where it goes. Yeah, it's a while longer than before to get to Paris studio. Elizabeth's studio said there's no special event. The streets are simply crowded with throngs of people going about daily business. You resist the urge to scream and shove them out of your way, but just barely. You manage to arrive at the painting without incident or injury. Just walk in. Keeping Elizabeth's previous quest tradition in mind, you let yourself into the studio. A cool breeze sweeps through the open windows, rustling the cloth that covers the painting in progress. That's great to see, Elizabeth says she strides into the room, already dressed to paint. Shall we get started? I'm just itching to work. What has become a practice to easy disrobe and take a position on the satin couch. Elizabeth takes the cover off your portrait and starts to prepare her paints. At this stage, she's focused on the specific details of your portrait. Occasionally, she asks you to minutely shift parts of your body this way or that. I wasn't sure you'd agree to even post with nudes tend to make clients nervous. That's because your clients don't know you like I do. Don't worry, I would have suggested it if you didn't. Elizabeth puts down her brush for a moment and laughs into the back of her hand. Oh really, is that so? Now I need you to stop being funny for a moment. I can't be giggling during the more precise details. The artist can't, as says with a mock sternness. Elizabeth returns to her paintings, still glancing up at you at regular intervals before squinting down at some particular detail. An hour passes, you take a break to stand up and stretch. Even with your relaxed poses on the couch, all the time spent staying exactly still starts to wear on you. You turn back to your position. Elizabeth to her art. Later, you find you're shifting the couch again. This has been quite a long session. Wait. You try to roll your shoulders for a slightly pose. You're not positioned to look at Elizabeth directly, but at your corner you can see her leaning away from the canvas to examine you. You squint your nose to the brush and hand as it moves for an awful long time. So I must be finished half an hour ago. She says, I just was enjoying looking at this. She gets some from me and walks over to you. You must be very cold. Her finger tracing on that side of your thigh. I'd like to warm up. Just shut up and kiss me already. Well, the client is always right, she replies with a smirk. The rustling of her skirts, Elizabeth kneels on the couch and places her hand almost behind you, and she gently leans forward over you. You crane your neck into her lips meet. You have to admit she's very warm. I'm not surprised. You've earned a large amount of favour, Elizabeth, but you probably knew that already. Already knew that, didn't you? Some nights after making some time to fix your hair and slip back into your foundation garments, you're taking tea and paste with Elizabeth. They taste amazing, but that might be just because you're famished. Oh, I almost forgot. Elizabeth giggles. I should have probably show you the painting that you've been sitting for all this time. You're sitting for all this time. With a burst of fresh energy, she gets up and walks over to her easel. She turns the canvas and she turns around the canvas and you see yourself. Well, not just yourself. It's Elizabeth's version of you. While this isn't the portrait, while she isn't in the portrait itself, you can see much of her personality in the painting. You look relaxed and confident, but adorned with an enigmatic smile and eyes that seem to be looking somewhere else. It's obvious that a tremendous amount of work has gone into this painting. If you squint closely, you can see places where oil paints have been layered and layered, the results of endless attempts to get some tiny detail right. It's a labour of love, and it shows. Elizabeth takes a deep breath, and her next words are almost a sigh of relief. I'm really proud of this one. I can't wait to get it found and hung up in my collection. The TV lounge and chat about paintings for some time. You pace the studio while you talk, relishing the chance to search of all this time. Eventually, it gets late enough for the two of you to say goodbye. Elizabeth helps you back into your dress. Outside, you walk home. Compared to the harsh, nightmarish hustle and bustle before the streets feel almost abandoned, you stroll alone, completely lost in your own thoughts. You arrive home, still unsure of how you feel. That was lovely. Nobody makes me feel that way. Elizabeth does. Yeah. Boyd, the heady thoughts of you sent to your bedroom, feel light and prepare yourself for bed. Okay. Explore Paris. Okay, so we've got an awful lot we can do. Let's balance of power, see what this gives us. Visit location. It appears there'd be a disagreement between members of the military who's the authority on the streets of Paris. You spend the day aimlessly wandering the streets trying to clear your head. You've had a lot to think about lately, and it's becoming hard to keep it all straight. You feel a tension in your breast, and you see yet another patrol of archers go by. You've done nothing. You've not done anything particularly wrong today, but something about their presence puts you on edge, like you've committed a terrible crime, completely forgotten all about it. And that's down the brink of being discovered. Like most citizens, your main interest in the archers is to make sure they ignore you. However, but you can see someone else has chosen a different approach. Two uniformed and armed men stand over a battered fellow who's sitting on the ground between them. The man arguing with the archer is a young soldier. Judging by his uniform, he appears to be a member of the Queen's Royal Dragoons. I said, stand down. The watchman growls, taking a single step towards his opponent. Since when do I have to listen to the likes of you? The dragoon replies. I found this man cutting purses. I apprehended him, and I shall deliver him to the prisons myself. The thief questions, sitting on the ground between them. His clothes are rumpled, and a strike in his face has split his lips open. He looks rather resigned to his fate, at least as long as two heavy-armed men are standing directly over him. What did you say? Their argument continues apace. You're starting to see the problem. Soldiers and City Watch aren't part of the same organisation. There's no real guide as to who is supposed to be paying who here. In a time of heightened security, this line gets even blurrier. The fact that a soldier is performing arrests makes the Guet Royal look incompetent, and the fact that a soldier performing an arrest makes the Guet Royal look incompetent is likely a factor here as well. You notice the men shifting their feet, and their hands start to tighten about the grips on their weapons. This could get ugly. Surely it's possible for you to take this villain in together, no? They both break away from the argument, you, and then examine each other. I says that could be possible. If you're amendable to such an arrangement, the dragoon ventures. As long as we can bring the villain to my station, I think we can work something out, the archer replies, casually kicking the thief on the ground to emphasise his point. The couple yells in praise as it's unnecessary abuse, but nobody seems to notice. Nothing would be more sensible. I'm glad we're willing to see reason. Well, you were the one to help me see reason, but you decide not. Or you were the one to help them see reason, but you decided not to let that get in the way of their mutual self-celebrations. They both give you a small bow of acknowledgement, so that's nice at least. You gain little favour, and we've lost some peril. We've gained little favour members of the military, and we've lost a little peril. Peril still high though. The duo happily march away together, dragging the helpless thief in tow towards judgment of some terrible fate after that. Probably branding. That seems to happen a lot. You, however, are left in the street wondering what happens in a city where even less tasked with keeping order can't work together. Okay. The violence in the past has only gotten worse, which is often the case in times like timelines. Hang on. The violence in the past has only gotten worse, which is often the case in times that should be like these. Yeah, another spelling error. Judging from the frantic murmurs you hear in the streets, it's confirmed that the Crown is significantly more power than the nascent revolution. Of course, rarely does one group hold power alone, and the minor factions in Paris appear to be the final picking their sides. As expected, the church is supporting the Crown, whatever good that might do. The church is greatly diminished versus years past, but all the same, priests regularly issue sermons exhorting their flock to stand fast in the support of their rightful king. As you surmise, the bourgeoisie fall line bound the revolution, but in a weak and disorderly fashion. Small council of merchants, scholars and doctors have spoken out against Majesty and have refused to pay taxes if the revolution's demands are met. The officer corps of the military, composed mainly of nobles, have managed to keep control of their units and place themselves in service of the Crown. However, years of mismanagement and skip pays have sapped their strength. Still, professional soldiers are always an asset in quelling an uprising. And so Paris continues to burn. 20th June 1790. While your own progress is going to a halt, it feels like the advancement of time around you has only sped up. Last year in October, a large crowd of women marched upon Versailles demanding bread, mostly armed with homemade sickles. However, the crowd was disjointed and sporadic, while many deserting or seeing armed guards at the palace. When their demands went unanswered, the mob attempted to storm the palace to present their demands to the royal family. In response, the guards opened fire, dispersing the crowd with force. Revolutionists have come to refer this tragic event as a woman's massacre. This sudden violence began a string of defeats that the revolution is still running from to this day. The Crown has the stability and necessary alliances to press any threats to their power as soon as they arise, preventing them from gaining momentum. Paranoia and desertion have withered the revolutionary ranks, as the Crown recently released an edict of mercy promising legal clemency on any revolution that throws down their arms. This edict excludes all that they have branded as revolutionary leaders, and so Paris continues to burn. 22nd of June 1791. Okay, we've jumped a year. Last night, a sleepy commune named Varennes made history. Last 2 years have been a collection of sporadic uprisings, unsuccessful battles of revolutionary forces spring up across the country, led by men like Robespierre, Lafayette and Talleyrand. Yeah, they don't want to let Mr. Guillotine himself. Their many narrow escapes and royalist forces have become stuff of folk legend, and several fictional accounts have already been published in the form of illegally distributed novels. However, one's luck cannot last for so long, and the revolutionary leaders were finally cornered, found hiding in the attic of Varennes post office. With their leaders apprehended and brought back to Paris in chains, the remaining revolutionary forces scattered across France have been left demoralised and leaderless, and so Paris continues to burn. 1792. Blimey. Less than a year after the events of Varennes, a physician named Joseph Ignacy Guillotine proposed a device that would decapitate the condemned quickly and cleanly. No longer will they twist and choke at the end of a hangman's rope. No longer will a missed strike from their excuses by a screaming man begging for a second swing. This guillotine kills instantly, for if one is to die, it should be done humanely. In fact, this guillotine has already claimed its first life. A highwayman named Nicholas Jacques Pelletier, who was found guilty of murder, robbery and rape. By all accounts, he was a wicked man. In fact, the crowd that watched his death was unsatisfied with his execution. It was too clean, too quick, too clinical. Perhaps they should have to witness guillotine at work a few more times before they warm to it. So Paris continues to burn. October 16, 1790. God, we've just gone through like 3 years in the space of 10 minutes. It's been a year and a half, and the people of France are truly warm to this guillotine. The courts have been held in a situation of complete deadlock as captured revolutionary leaders continue to argue their cases before the courts. Finally, His Majesty the 16th broke the deadlock by simply ordering their executions by royal decree. This went against France's legal norms, but the tribulations paralysing violence the last few years have dulled these sensitivities. For all the talk of their importance, rules and standards crumble easily before any firm wielder of power. This morning, after one after the other, revolutionaries were executed and their heads stacked in rows upon the ground. A jeering crowd stamped upon the revolutionary Caucasian and shouted, "Vive le roi," with every death. The king has once been accused of possessing a vacillating nature. He had not firmly kept his hands upon the reins of power, but after so many threats to his rule, something has changed within him. No such hesitations haunt him now, as how Paris continues to burn. December 1793. Your morning preparations are interrupted by sound of loud crashes and discontent outside. Normally this wouldn't be so strange, but this time sounds are close and uncomfortably close. Ever since God successfully put down the revolution that threatened to shape his Majesty the King, you've heard of disloyal subjects being put on trial. Is that what this is? You look out the window and see dragoons forcefully tearing people from their homes and gathering them in the middle of the street. Your blood runs cold at the sound of a heavy fist banging on your front door. I'll get it, Camille calls out from downstairs. Before you can stop her, you hear her open the front door downstairs, immediately muffled by sounds of a struggle. You stir at the sound of boots tramping. Somebody's coming upstairs. A familiar dragoon bursts in, holding an official note in his hands. Madame Ducot, you stand accused of high crimes against His Majesty the King. I understand I shall come with... You gasp as he grabs you roughly by this in the middle of your sentence and immediately starts to drag you outside. Your pleas and innocence fall on deaf ears. Long afterwards you find yourself alone in a jail cell. You try to contemplate which indignity is greater. The fact that you're still only dressed in your foundation garments, or the fact you still haven't had breakfast yet. Taking a seat on your new bed, you wonder what this trial will be like. How does it even prove your loyalty to the crown? You do know one thing though, whatever awaits you in that trial, you must succeed. Your very life hangs in the balance. Okay. 7th December 1793. Next morning you find yourself dragged into a crowded courtroom. It takes a second to realise that it's mostly people you see. It takes a second to realise that it's the most people you've seen at once in weeks. Behind you survey the crowd, feeling a rare flash of familiarity at some of their faces. Likely you've seen them at very splendid parties over the years. Has it really been that long? Your life in Paris feels like it's just flown by, yet it feels like eons from your life in the country. A judge from the front of the court clears his throat, jolting you from your reverie. It's supposed to be dissuading them from making your head shorter. Your head shorter, that's why you're here. Pay attention, everyone, and return to your seats. I shall have order in my courtroom. The case before it is quite out there, and still, I shall not allow this folly to sully the decency of these proceedings. Madame Ducot, you stand accused of leading a conspiracy against His Majesty King Louis the 16th. This is a high crime indeed. Leading a conspiracy against the king, you've done a lot of questionably legal things, but this isn't one of them. What is going on here? Eh? Oh, that's me. Should you found guilty, the judge continues, you'll be sentenced to death. How do you plead? This is the first time I've even heard these charges. First of all, madam, you shall address as a matter of your honour. Second of all, ignorance is no law of excuse. The charges still stand. The consequences shall make these opening statements. Thank you, your honour. The progressive stays as he strides across the centre of the room with a practised ease. I am Anton Foucault to unveil in my duty to bring the enemies within our midst to justice. The woman stands before you is charged with scheming with foreign agents leading a group of revolutionary fanatics. Instead of living in peace within the bosom of your kingdom, which had provided with you sustenance and instead of obeying laws, instead she plotted with the king, His Majesty the King, against the Frankish people, against Frankish people themselves. This is not going well, because it's true that you've engaged with Madame de Marbeau. I was, but I haven't seen him in months. Do you have conclusive evidence that Madame Kerr was in contact with her fiancé in the last few months? I do not, your honour. Then I must ask you to redirect your line of questioning, Judge cries impatiently. The jury takes note of this, and you can hear them murmuring their approval of you. You lost a little pebble. Moving on. It is known that your Francis' actions were done in service of a traitor called the Francis-Habsburgian Society. You attempt to keep your face blank, but your mind races exactly does know of this. What do you think? This grim aimed to suborn our kingdom to the monarchy of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Their cause is treasonous by definition. How they would have made slaves of us all. Why would I have done this? Why would I have ever do anything of this? Tell what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hit a scale. I'm just going to save this, because if this goes horribly wrong, I'm going to go back and. Did you ever do anything to aid or abet this cabal of fanatics? Why would I ever do anything of the sort? No, I did not. Really? I see, he now glares at you. This became lack of association, of course, is not enough to prove your innocence, but in all his attempts to salvage this question, you can see the jurors eyeing the prosecutor sceptically. Lost a little pebble. There is also the question of your puzzling finances. It is known from the court you lived alone, separate from your fiancée for some time. At least it appears that way. You possess no great fortune, you have no husband to support you, yet you are able to maintain your own estate complete with servants. You're not certain it's really fair to call your humble home an estate, but it doesn't seem to be stopping him. This is a know that you made yourself intimate with highest tiers of society. There you moved against them, bedecked far above your station should allow. Such things are not cheap. Given your leadership, dangerous cabal of fanatics funded by foreign agents, would it be hard to imagine these foreign powers support you financially? My point: how do you use your money for its power? To what end? How did fancy dresses and, of course, I had a job as a trumpet to propel. This is, of course, difficult to prove. Part of the reason you could move so effectively past society is because your works were conducted off the books. However, you don't need to convince this fool of that. You merely need to convince the jury. To that end, they seem to be nodding quite thoughtfully. They generally seem disavowed of suspicion of this particular account. You lost a little bevel. Slowly, the whispered conversation in various corners of the courtroom pile out of control. Soon you can barely hear yourself think above the din. Just as the crowd builds on bell volume, the judge raises his hand and hushes people, slowly bringing them into order. Slowly, Prosecutor Farkas stalks back to his seat. Tell everyone we should take the opportunity to call for a recess. He groans, prepared to re-adjourn with half an hour. The courtroom quickly empties out as people take their time to stretch legs. However, you decide to remain in place. You don't actually have anywhere else to go. Just as being settled in, a cheery voice rings out behind you. Madam, you're alive. Camille bounds up to you, carrying a small basket with her. I've heard you were being tried at the courthouse, so I quickly came as quickly as I could. What you're saying outside doesn't seem like things are going well for you. I thought you might be hungry, so I bought lunch, tea and wine. Would you like any? At this point, remember that you haven't eaten since you were apprehended. Messy become I would love some lunch and tea. Real tea from a teacup she's managed to keep warm. The tea is strong and hot. You immediately feel more invigorated. It will be easier for you to be charming and self-engaging. You gain a little credibility. The moment you bite into lunch, Camille prepared for you, your hunger returns in full force. You devour the meal almost instantly. This welcome passer is interrupted by a figure looming over you. So we'll meet again, Yvette. It's really a shame that someone managed to connect you to the Francis-Habsburgian Society. That bloodthirsty prosecutor has gotten it into his head that you're the leader. So this is such a shame, as when Armand was arrested for his involvement in such a conspiracy. Of course, your conviction would benefit the informant, whoever they were. For his suspicion, they could simply rebuild and return to our society's aims like nothing ever happened. It's also nice when a tragedy can help a happy ending. Is that what this whole thing is, just a cover for you? It's also personal, not that, but you really, but trust me, you've been thorning myself, preventing me from getting what I wanted for quite some time. So I get to clear myself of all suspicion. I can destroy someone who got in my way. It's always nice to kill two birds with one single stone. Clap your hands together. Well, if it looks like the recess is about to finish, I'll let myself enjoy your last meal. Ta-ta, Yvette. as she leaves. I really don't like that woman Camille mumbles to herself as she glances daggers at Joanna's back. Furia can reply. A guard ushers come back to a seat at the back of the courtroom and everyone starts to take their seats. Your final challenge is about to begin. Right, let's just hit save again. We'll create a new save. Yes. Okay. The judge stands before the court as the recess comes to a close. Under my court, trial of Madame Yvette Decaux is back in session. The judge takes a seat from across the courtroom, and you can see Prosecutor Foucault already striding to the centre of the courtroom with a vicious gleam in his eye. Begin, prosecutors, I'd like to call to the stand Baron Maximum. Oh, great. Maximum glows hatefully at you as he shuffles to the centre of the room. The whole court is shrouded in whispers as the assembled try to summarise what this disgraced revolutionary could possibly be doing here. What's he playing at? What's his game? Baron Temes, do you swear to tell the whole truth without hatred and without fear? We, Your Honour, he says with blatant hostility. As long as I receive clemency for my so-called crimes, as the prosecutor prepares to question the witness, he can't help but notice Maxim hasn't stopped staring at you as he walked since he walked in. Bantam is pleased to have known the events that took place in February of 1789. It was late at night. I was hosting one Baron de Marbeau for dinner. When the meal was concluded, he asked if he could speak with me alone. Do you find anything unusual about this request? No. At the time, there were plenty of people trying to court my favour. His eyes glaring at you accusingly. This part wasn't unusual. Once we were alone, he started talking about mutual interest in curbing the influence of the monarchy. Well, I agreed at first, and he launched into his tirade about the Austro-Hungarian Empire and how much the people of France stood to benefit. Taking from him to realise he was seriously proposing we merge our country with another, that we would give up political autonomy in France. He snorts derisively. Of course, a man of pure and enlightened notions could never have been swayed by such honeyed lies, so I demanded to know who put up this ridiculous plot. I never said who, and he said he would put a representative. But he was just a representative of Frankish Habsburgian society. He tried to claim the group was a revolution because it was run by this intelligent woman of humble origins. Nevertheless, I cast him out and demanded him to speak to me again. Well, you know, this part isn't completely true. He certainly seems to believe the rest of it. Do you have reason to believe you know who the mastermind of this so-called society would be? I do. Yvette Decaux visited my abode a week later, inquiring after Mon. She's a woman of unusual intelligence for her sex, certainly of a humble background. It only makes sense that she's a ringleader. Never in your life you'd be so insulted by a compliment. Merci coup de Madame, bound to merci prosecution rests. Madame Decaux, you'll be given the privilege to ask a single question of the witness. Oh, joys, a single question, how generous of them. Go ahead, do your worst. First, I would like to remind you, the jury, that you're trusting the word of a known liar and scoundrel. What compelled you to lie about the fact you invited Amon back a second time? Okay, so let's have a bit of a save, because let's go, hang on. Yeah, we'll create a new save. Okay, let's have a get this right. Just to increase your power by a large amount. Requires a hard credibility challenge. The jurors collected gasp at this. This was certainly a vital detail for him to admit. You dare come and lie, you insolent fool. The jurors whisper excitedly amongst themselves. You can tell that they take you more seriously now. You gain some credibility. Is this true, Madam? Monsieur de Timothy, you don't understand. I invite him on back to another purely so I can denounce him, makes him replies desperately. I don't care. I should have no falsehoods in my court. Though I am forced to remind the jury that nothing about that statement actually clears Madame Decaux of a suspicion of heinous crimes, the judge continues. Oh, great. You are dismissed. We shall discuss your conduct here at a later date. The judge glares at Maximum as he slinks away. I believe I've heard enough of this. A judge spits, glaring at you contemptuously. Esteemed members of the jury, you should commence with deliberations. Your heart sinks as you watch the jury turn to each other, whisper amongst themselves. They don't even seem to bother. They don't even bother to leave the room. After a scant few minutes, the speaker of the jury stands to say, "We find the defendant guilty on all charges." Madame de Caille, you are found guilty of high crimes against His Majesty King of France. For your crimes to death, guards take her away. The next day it's raining. You are barefooted, being led to the guillotine, and it is raining. When you first came to Paris, this monster device didn't even exist. No, it hangs all over France like the fabled sword of Damocles. A promise of instant death hangs by but a thread. In your position, some fanciful poet would take this time to claim this rain was a metaphor for tears, that heavens themselves weep at your loss. You are far too intelligent for such a notion. It feels familiar in a way. You can hear people in the crowd jubilantly celebrating your downfall, just like the night when you exposed Maximin, the beast that he really is. Most of these people don't really know who you are. All they know is that you reach too high above your station. They hate you, and they hate you for it. Seeing you die will make them feel less small. To the devil them and their feelings. Reach the base of the scaffold, and Exo approaches you to spout some meaningless words and bind your hands. This is so you don't convulse too dreadfully when you die. You ignore his advice. What could he possibly have to say that would be of any use to you? His entire calling's ending lives. Yours was living one. With your hands bound together, someone prods you in the back with something pointing. You begin to ascend the steps of the scaffold. Textures of walkboard is almost sharp against the soles of your bare feet. Your toes curl over the edges of the rickety steps. You look upon the crowd, their faces contorted grotesquely at the process of uttering their petty boos and jeers. After a whole life spent climbing even higher, this latest ascent of yours may be drawn the biggest crowd yet. It's all about to end, but this is really that bad. In your shut you managed to live more than nearly anyone who ever decried you. Born a common girl, you became engaged in ability. Growing up in the country, you finally managed to move to Paris. Within days of arriving, you attended a party grander than anything you've ever seen, only to be betrayed. Bereft of it, you rescinded. You were rescued by a lovesick priest. You were rescued by a lovesick priest? Is that not the stuff that stories are made of? With a sharp tongue and a mind full of image, you secretly became a journalist for the most notorious newspaper in all of Paris. Seeking a truly poetic revenge, you uncovered loathsome past of the false revolutionary who had humiliated you. With the aid of one of the greatest painters of your age, you destroyed him at his own salon. All you had to do was commission the only honest picture you've ever had painted of him. He dared humiliate you and you brought him to ruin. You drove into an ever-flowing river of life and culture that surpassed everything you ever dreamed of in the countryside. Despite it all, you remained loyal to Armand. The very reason he came to Paris, handsome, fun and witty, he shared in your love and ambition itself. He always felt that somehow things could be better. It was pure and truly noble. Then people driven mad with hunger, powerless, lay treated to the Bastille, prison that stood for every wicked thing that could no longer stand. And soon you watched the burning embers of the revolution get snuffed out in an instant. No amount of desire and yearning makes something come to pass. Only action has such power. Do you have any last words, madame? The executioner asked, tearing you from your reverie. My only crime is that I lived a few dared to dream. Upon these people my whole life with turned to ashes. I suppose it's too late to tell you I'm innocent now. Yeah. Afraid that in my experience, innocence and guilt has very little to do with my work. Perhaps he should take it with concern with God, who replies with a shake of his head and a rueful smile. How strange. You'd always assumed that if you were to be killed, you had something that it would be something that you actually deserved. You had to foresee so many possibilities, but innocence really wasn't one of them. A hand is placed on your shoulder and you are forced to kneel. A yoke is placed on your neck and the basket in front of your face. Humble wick and take container stained the colour of rust, baptised in blood of revolutionaries and martyrs. At least your beautiful head will come to rest in suitable company. The blade rises, the crowd hushes, it feels like time has come to a halt. Perhaps things could have been different. Perhaps a tiny decision here, a minor correction there, your great ambitions could have been achieved. Perhaps. Of course, while your own story comes to a close, the story of love is either continues to be written or tragically cut short. In fact, your very life was cut short, but at least it was done in a suitably grand fashion. After all, history is filled with those who never bothered to reach very far and yet were killed for it anyway. You managed to outlast a month for a time. However, even though you left his mortal coil behind, the rest of past still marches on. Elizabeth the Great painter, haunted by memories that sapped her for inspiration of southern art. When the nobility was victor of the revolutionaries, Paris would eventually return to something resembling normalcy. However, Liz struggles with both her past scandals and her dearth of artistic impression. Ludovicchio, the priest pushed into clergy against his will, who struggled with higher calling that pulled against desire to have the love and happiness afforded to parishioners, he led himself to prayer. Back in Rome, he was happy to watch the ability to maintain their grip on power as he prevented revolutions bringing more bloodshed and already troubled country. He spent his days sending petitions urging King His Majesty Louis to use his newfound stability as an opportunity to alleviate the suffering and starvation of his wife, so rife amongst his common people. He has yet to receive a reply. Honoré, the opulent and domineering widow who still openly grieved for husband Charles, passed away all those years ago. The bastard attempts to urge her associates in the bourgeoisie to oppose an ability to stranglehold on power wherever possible. The revolution was crushed regardless. Months later, she was guillotined for the crime of sedition. Perhaps now she and Charles will finally be reunited. There's also until the fire revolution would stop at nothing to bring liberty to France. Even from the beginning, he burned with an ardour that threatened to become a raging inferno. With the dream of the revolution dead, Anton died with it. Armed guards stormed his modest apartment 2 weeks ago. Instead of surrendering to the enemies of the people, he tried to strangle the first man who attempted to arrest him. The pair, of course, survived the upheaval because men like him have always been well equipped to survive anything that fortune might throw at them. Honest men might find themselves ill prepared in times of unease, but dishonest ones are quite used to facing danger at every turn. Of course, that usually became dangers entirely of their own creation. While he may have been seen tasting the victory of the ability and tradition, he's also heard grousing to himself about the renewed harsh censorship laws being imposed by the Crown. Printing the salacious truth is going to be a lot harder for the foreseeable future. Fatima, the enterprising dressmaker, who was the front to which your elegance foe still has managed to keep her shop open. After the ability's close call with the consequences for their excesses, there has been renewed interest in personal protection. More clients have been requesting that Fatima use tightly stitched layers of silk to add armour to their finery. It might even work. At least it's unlikely if the assassin in question also agrees to wear a silk dagger, but regardless, he's happy enough to take their money. And of course there's Camille, the indefatigable housemaid who has been at your side since your very first moments in Paris. While Camille was deeply saddened by your passing, she had a great turn of fortune when the landlord of the house fled Paris in order to avoid prosecution for a staggering list of financial crimes. With no one left to claim the building, Camille became its de facto owner. So he says that, I like Camille. While the home story may be cut short, the story of the world continues unabated. There is something almost comforting in this thought. No single person's death is enough to halt the march of history. And so, as always, in Paris, life goes on. Oh my God, I'm devastated. I did not see that coming. Oh wow, I'm not devastated about that. Actually, the mistake we made was when Armand asked us to go and join the foot. We should have said no. We should have refused outright, and we should have gone no. We're not getting involved in that, because that meant that Joanna one could drag us into it. That was the mistake we made. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm devastated about the ending. I think I probably spent too much time trying to seduce various different people. I was going to reload at the trial and try and see if I could beat the trial, but I don't think that's fair. I'm devastated about that. I'm absolutely devastated. I'm lost for words. I absolutely love that game. That's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I'm utterly devastated that we got executed. You know? What would I do differently? I wouldn't have wasted so much time with Ludovicio, because that didn't seem to get us anywhere. I didn't really seem to just didn't do it. I don't know, it just didn't do it. It didn't do anything for us. I would have pushed Elizabeth like a lot sooner, because that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that. At least we had a bit of fun before we died. And then the Armand, I would have burned him off. But the problem with that though is that it's difficult. Well, I don't know. The mistake we made was the Frankish-Habsburg Society. That's what did us, because we kept the crown in power, which is what we were angling for. But we just get set up by that woman, and we couldn't do anything about it. Yeah, we should have been Armand off. We should have said no, we're not getting involved in this. Right. Anyway, I might be devastated about that. Oh no, but I thoroughly love that. What a great game! I love that, and we are going to be doing. I'm going to be doing that again. Whether I do it on the channel, I don't know. But we are going to come back to this again, because I thoroughly enjoyed that. Absolutely fantastic. Wow. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed this little playthrough. If you've got this far and you're still here, thanks very much. Like, subscribe, comment, you know, usual score. But go out and get the game. I wholeheartedly recommend go out and get it, because that was fantastic. I love that. Absolutely love that. I love that entirely. That was great. I had a great time. Anyway, wow. We got guillotined. I didn't avoid the guillotine. Devastated. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next, whatever the next one is. Thanks very much. Bye.